Hello, my name is Salvatore Corona, Solution Executive Environmental with Bentley Systems. This presentation is on the interoperability between gINT and Geo Web Publisher. This is the last of 4 short presentations. In the first presentation, we did a general overview of the concepts and benefits. And then we looked at gINT data published in a number of ways within Geo Web Publisher. In the third presentation, we covered the configuration necessary in gINT. And now we're going to cover the configuration in Geo Web Publisher. So, Geo Web Publisher configuration tools require no programming. All configuration takes place via configuration dialogues. Some gINT database setup may be required. All right, let's take a look. So, you can reference tables directly in the database. And if that's all you want to do, then it makes it very, very easy. However, there are certain cases where you need some manipulation of the data. In our example, we need 5 such manipulations. These are database views and are stored in the enterprise database. These views are needed for the tables of data that are generated in the information frame down here. So this frame, all of these fields are from the project table, except for this one here, the project report. We need a field that tells the program the name of the report. Now, we've named our project reports, these here. Let's open this up. And these reports, which are the overall geotechnical reports, are named by the project identifier. Now, in gINT, we could insert a field here and just repeat the project identifier name. That could be done. Then we wouldn't have to create this view. But in our case, we don't want to have to put in that redundant information. So instead, we're going to create a view. And the same thing applies to other tables. Let's take a look at how this is done. So this is we're inside SQL Server Management Studio, and in our database and in our views section. So we're looking at the project view here, and you write a query. That's what a view is basically. And we're picking the project identifier, the project name, location, client, etc. And we're picking the project identifier twice. Once to show it, and once to show it as a project report. So that's how that's done. The other requirement for any tables or views of data by Geo Web Publisher, each record has to have a unique numeric identifier value. And in this case, we're picking the gINT project ID. Now, that is a field you will not see inside of gINT. It's a hidden counter field. We just automatically assign 1, 2, 3, 4 to each new project record. And those numbers never repeat. So if you delete a project and then add a new one, that it will grab the next number that has never been used. So that's what we use there. All right, and just the point view is a little different. These are the boreholes, and just to show you where that is in Geo Web Publisher, we're going to zoom in. And pick a borehole. Right. So this is a view for this table of information. Again, all these fields come from the gINT table, except for this one here. Now we've decided to name the log PDF files by concatenation of the project identifier and the whole identifier with a dash in between. And we have set that up in the view. So there is a project identifier, the point identifier, then a concatenation of those two fields with a dash in between. And we've labeled this field as log PDF. And everything else is pretty much straightforward. The only other thing we've done here, we have two date fields, the starting date and the ending date, and we have formatted them so that they only show the date portion, not the time portion. That's all that was done there. And the unique identifier we're picking is the GINT rec ID, another field you will never see in GINT. Every table in our databases have a GINT rec ID field, and it's an auto-counter field, just like the GINT project identifier. All right. And all the other views work exactly this way. So that's the only things we have to do. Here's the rock view, a little more complex, but the concept's the same. Now, I did say earlier that there was no programming in Geo Web Publisher configuration tools, and that is true. This, a lot of people would say, is programming, and that's a valid point. But it is not specific to Geo Web Publisher. This is standard SQL, structured query language, and your IT people do this kind of thing all the time. So this is not Geo Web Publisher programming. It is just programming associated with databases, which is done all the time. So that's all that has to be done within the GINT database itself, creating these views. Now let's look at Geo Web Publisher. There are three configuration tools. The administration program sets up the connections to the graphic and non-graphical data portions of the model. They're all defined in here. And we have a number. We've got background maps and sidewalks and streets and all kinds of things in the model. We're not going to be covering that. So that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. This is ours here. And we define it. And then and in terms of the graphical map elements, we have a number of them. The graphical sources here, and we have two. Now, graphical sources actually put objects on the map, and we actually put three different kinds of objects on the maps: the project icons, the borehole icons, and the section lines. But that is not a ODBC connection. We'll look at that in a moment. So the project connection, you tell it the database connection, which was defined up here, and what table you're taking it from, and where the east comes from, where the north comes from, and the index key. Again, this non-repeating numeric value field. Now, as a side note on that, we do put in the project east and north. That really wasn't necessary. Another way to do it, we could have written another view that would find the center coordinate of all the boreholes in the project averaged for east and north. So then we could eliminate this. So that's another approach. Now the section lines are a different kind of database, and here, instead of being a database, it is a DGN file, which actually is a database, and you you specify the DGN file, the seed file that was created from, and in this case we've put in the coordinate system. And there are lots of other properties there. We won't go into that. Now we also have non-graphical data sources. This is where the data down here comes from. And they are here, and these are the 5 views that we created. So we have to define them. Let's just pick one here. So we tell it where it comes from, database. Instead of picking a table, we're picking a view. So this shows all the tables and views. As far as Geo Web Publisher and most other programs is concerned, a table and a view are the same thing. They act and look the same to any external program. So here we've defined the 5 views we're going to use elsewhere. So this sets up all the configuration. And then we're going to move on to the Map Author tool. This program creates the different layers on the map by referencing the graphical sources from the administration program. So again, there are a whole bunch of layers here. We're only interested in these 3. So we have the project layer. And we just tell it the graphical source. And we just go in. This is the same view we saw in the administration tool. And then we go in and pick the graphical source that applies here, which is the GINT projects. And we say we want to display it at startup, and we want it selectable. This is where you say what layers can be selected or not. And then in the symbology, we're saying it is a unique symbology, meaning all of the objects will have the exact same symbol. And that symbol is defined here. And you just pick the file you want. You can pick lots of different graphic image types. And you set the size and the rotation angle, which we're not going to use that at all. And then there's the scale range. Remember, the project icons were seen when we zoomed out. We saw all 3 project icons. But as we zoomed in, once we dropped below 1 to 10,000 scale, they disappeared. And that's how this is done here. And then the tooltip. It will show you all the fields that are available from the source, which we define on the General tab, and then you pick the ones you want. And you can label them any way you want. So for some reason I wanted to put it in the project report. I can label it however I want. And then just double click on this and it puts it there. And that would show up in our tooltip. And we don't want that actually. We'll just reset that. The borehole layer works exactly the same way. Just picking a different graphical source. The symbology is a little different. We're doing it by values. And the values come from the hole type column. These are all the fields that are available to us in this non-graphical source. And then it shows all 3 hole types. And then we can decide which icon we want. Those icons can, so you could set not only the icon type, but you could change the sizes. We could have different size icons for each of these, and we could have different icons for all of them. Again, the scale range is the exact opposite of the project scale range. Once it goes above 1 to 10,000, you won't see those icons any longer. And the tooltip works exactly the same way. And finally, we have the sections. Again, all of these are displayed at startup and selectable. Scale range is the same. And that's all we need to do in the map author. Finally, we go to the site author. The site author configures the frames outside of the main map frame. And we're going to look at the layers, searches, themes, and information frames. Let's take a look at the layer frame. And here what we're doing is specifying the icon mainly, and we're giving it a name. It's the main thing we're doing here. So you just pick the path to a particular file that you want to use as the icon. That's done for all of these. For searches, we have those 4 searches. And this is how they're set up. You give the non-graphical source, which again are 5 views, the SQL views that we created. And we're going to search on the project ID. We're going to allow wildcards and add an all results option, which means you can leave the selection, that box blank, and then you'll get them all. All right, that's pretty straightforward. The borehole list is the same thing. We're searching on the log PDF, which remember is concatenation of the project identifier and the borehole name. That's necessary for uniqueness. And here we're just making it mandatory. We're not allowing wildcards. We could. And we're not allowing an all results option. And again, we can do that. Now the borehole by project is a little different. We're doing it in 2 levels. We're picking the project, then we're picking the borehole. So that's what we have here. First we pick the project identifier, and then we're picking the borehole name. So you can keep adding new layers. So you could really drill down deep depending on how far you wanted to go. If you wanted to pick specific tests, the next level might be what sample, and below that, which editor within that sample, etc. So you could have a 4-level search in that case. And the borehole by project and the boreholes by type, we're just searching on the hole type. That's all there is to that. Now let's look at themes. We have our 2 themes here. The hole depth, what layer it's in, what layer it's associated with, which is the borehole layer. And this is where it gets its data from this non-graphical source. Again, it's one of our views. And we're going to be displaying data based on hole depth. And you can use a number of different ways of showing that data. And we're using equal count. And with that, you set up a number of classes. These classes are ranges. And you can add as many ranges as you want. You set up the intervals and the ranges here. And then for each range, you specify an icon. So for less than 10, you're going to use that icon. 10 to 20 is a different icon, and greater than 20 is a different again. And again, you could have different sizes for the different ranges if you wished. The overburden versus rock is a little different. Again, the layer and the non-graphical source. And the method is pie chart. And there you add as many records as you want to grab data from wherever you want. And so it lists the fields that you could use to build this pie chart. And it shows you all the numeric fields. And in this case, we only want these 2. You could have 20 of them. The properties, you can specify a minimum and maximum size in pixel. And or you could make them all the same size. But what we chose to do is to make the pies bigger, the circles bigger, with deeper hole depths. So those pie charts not only show relative amounts of or thicknesses of overburden and rock, but the pies will get bigger if it's a deeper hole and smaller if it's a shallower hole. And you can decide what that range is. Again, the tooltip set up here. Finally, at the bottom of the interface, we had the information, the info section, and we had 3 different types of information: projects, and we've decided which columns we want, and we tell it what the non-graphical source is, and all of these fields that were at one point here, and we move them over, and you can put them in whatever order you want. All of the fields are very easy, very straightforward to specify. They don't have a lot of properties that we have to deal with. The main thing we did was caption each field. This particular database we're using is based on the UK AGS structure, and they have quite abbreviated field names. And in GINT, we caption them, and we can caption them here. So I'll caption that as project ID. We also say what sort order we want, which fields are used for sort order. In this case, we're only sorting on the project identifier, so it is the first of the sort order. The others are the same: project name, no sort order, any of these. The only different one here is the project report. Remember, what we got in that column in the information table was an icon. And first of all, what we want to do here is say that this field's a bit special. It is a link column. We are linking the contents of this column to something, and that's and we can put in an icon. Well, we need to put in an icon, and we put in the GINT advanced. The Geo Web Publisher advanced printing icon, and then the link prefix, which in our case is the folder location for the project reports. Put them in this folder. And the link suffix is the extension. So the folder comes from here, the name comes from this field, which remember is just the project identifier, and the extension comes from here. That's how you do a link. And you can have multiple fields that are link fields. Boreholes. The boreholes have 3 different views, remember, 3 different tabs in its information. So for the point view, it's set up this way, and it's exactly in structure exactly the same as the project view. The only difference here is we have 2 sort fields. We're sorting by the project identifier first, and then the borehole identifier second. And the log PDF, same thing. This is a link field, and we're using the same link icon, different folder, same extension. And then when we go to rock, it's just picking off the fields. That's all we're doing here. These 2 fields are only used by the theme, and this field is used by that rock tab view. And finally, we have the water, and we're just using all these fields here. And that's all there is to set the model up as far as the subsurface data is concerned. So in summary, it's very easy to configure. There's no programming except optional database view queries. And again, those queries are something that people that maintain databases do all the time. You need to coordinate those people with the domain specialists, the geotechnical engineers and geologists, etc. They will tell the IT people what they want to see, and the IT people can create those views. So what this means is that we're talking about hours or days, not weeks or months, to create the GIS model. And it's very easy to add or modify features. You don't need a web developer. Publish whatever views of the data you wish, and link whatever data you wish to the views, and link data from multiple sources. Thank you very much. Please contact us if we can answer any questions for you.